Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be dealing with analytical geometry. In particular, we're going to be dealing with how do we go about when we calculate the midpoint that is called M. Now, before we get into calculating the midpoint, so at the end of this session, which is very short, by the way, you must be able to calculate the midpoint when you've been asked to and you've been given points. Okay, that is the objective of today's lesson. Make sure that every time when you are doing a lesson, then you must know what is it that you want to achieve afterwards. So what you will achieve after this is you are going to be able to calculate what? The midpoint. Right. Now, before we just look at things about midpoint, I just want us to clarify some couple of things. Number one, when you are talking about midpoints, it's M, which is the capital M. Okay, this is for midpoint. Okay, there is also a small m that we used earlier or on other videos, and then that is what is for gradient. Okay, so the small m is for gradient, and then the big M is for the midpoint. So guys, what is a midpoint? What is a midpoint? A midpoint, mid stand for middle. Okay, middle. So when we are talking about a midpoint, you are talking about a point that is in the middle. Now, in the middle of what? You are in the middle of 2 points. Okay, so you will have a point and then you will have another point. So say for example, let's say we've got a point A, which is this one, and then you'll have a line, and then there will be a point B, which has its own coordinates, whatever they are. Okay, so and then let's say for argument's sake, in A you've got x1 and then y1, and then in point B you've got x2 and then y2. Okay, these are points. The beginning of a point, this is the end of a point. Now, when you are looking for a midpoint, you are looking for a point that is found exactly halfway between point A and B. Okay, now that point, okay, never mind my writing if it is not equal, but basically you know what I mean. All right, so you are looking for a point that is exactly here. We call it M. But because this is a point, ladies and gentlemen, personalities, when you are talking about a point, you will always have the x of that point. So that is the x of the middle point of a midpoint, and then you will also have y of a midpoint. Okay, so whenever you've got a middle point, you will always have x of it and the y of it. That is why when you see the questions, they always ask you to find the coordinates of the midpoint. In other words, where is it with respect to x, and where is it with respect to y-axis? X-axis with respect to x-axis, and with respect to y-axis. Where is this point, which is point M? Okay, now you get that through the midpoint. Now, so the x of the midpoint, how do you find it? You find the x of the midpoint by saying x1 plus x2, and then you just divide by 2, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen, personalities. And then how do you find the y of a midpoint? The y of a midpoint, how to find it? You just say y1 plus y2, and then you divide by 2. Okay, that is exactly how you find the y of a midpoint. And then if you combine all of these two together, you will have M, which is x1 plus x2 all divided by 2, and then versus y1 plus y2, and then all of these things divided by what? Divided by 2. Okay, now this is a midpoint. Now concealed together. All right, so this is basically how to calculate the midpoint. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, personalities, let us go to the examples and see how we can explain this midpoint in terms of the examples. You've already got the formula. I hope you wrote it somewhere. If you didn't, you can reverse this video and then you can go and write it. All right, let's say we are looking for a midpoint between the following points, between, say, the point that has 2 versus 6, and then another point being what? Being 4 versus 4. You are just looking for a midpoint, and then your question is, let me write the question properly, because now I just said it, I didn't write it. Let me write it properly. Find the midpoint of the following points. Okay, and then what are these points? 8, 2 versus 6, and what? And then 4 versus 4. Okay, so here's a solution. How to do that? Okay, so in order to find midpoint, you must identify x1. So this is point 1, and then this is x of point 1, which is x1, and then x of point 2, which is x2. I'm talking nonsense. Y of point 1, which is y1. So you've got x1 and y1 here, and then this is point 2, and then the x of point 2 is called x2, and then the y of point 2 is called y2. All right, so you will have m, which is equal to what? Which is equal to x1 plus x2 over 2, and then semicolon for versus, and then you will have y1 plus y2 all divided by what? All divided by 2. Okay, and then x1 is what? x1 is 2. 2 plus x2 is what? Is 4. Aha, all divided by 2. And then y1, where is y1? Y1 here it is, it's 6. 6 plus, and then you've got y2. What is y2? y2 is what? y2 is 4. And all divided by 2. And then equal to 2 plus 4 is what? Is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Versus 6 plus 4 is 10. And then divided by 2 is what? 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the point in the middle of this particular point is what? Is 3 versus 5. Okay, so this is a middle point. This is the x of a middle point. This is the y of a middle point. Right. Now, let us do another example. Let's say this time around we've got this couple of midpoints. Let's call this one A, and then there is minus 1 versus 3, and there is B, point B, which is 2 versus minus 3. Okay, so how do we find the midpoint? Ladies and gentlemen, midpoint of AB, because now this point has been identified as AB. The formula is still exactly the same, unless you decide to personalize these two things. You can say XA here and then XB, and sorry, XA and then XB, and then you can say YAN and YB. Okay, all divided by 2. It doesn't matter, or you can leave it like this. It doesn't really matter, because as long as you are going to be able to locate these points where they are. All right, great. So, and then, so what is x1? So x1 is this one. x1, and then this is y1, and then this is x2, and then y2. Okay, so x1 minus 1, minus 1, plus, and then what is x2? x2 is 2, and then divided by 2, versus y1. Where is y1? Here is y1 is 3, and then plus y2. What is y2? y2 is minus 3, so minus 3. Guys, don't forget that when you are dealing with, okay, divide by 2, when you are dealing with a negative number, you must always put a bracket with it so that you can be able to deal with it properly. Right, so minus 1 plus 2 is what? Is half, is 1, and then divide by 2, and then it's 2, and then 3 minus 3 is what? Very nice number. 0 divided by 2 is 0, so here it's 0. So this is a midpoint between A and B. The x part of it is half, and then the y part of it is what? Is 0. So ladies and gentlemen, personalities, that is how you do what? That is how you calculate the midpoint between what? Between 2 points. All right, and then the midpoint, which is a point in the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Mkonde Makaba from Tembela Maths Club, a club that helps learners to understand mathematics. Thank you very much for tuning through, and if you have got any questions or something unclear, make sure that you ask below there, or if there's a mistake that we have committed, please do check, ladies and gentlemen, personalities, and then do alert us. We can all make mistakes, we are human beings. But thank you very much for tuning in, and have a lovely day, and goodbye.